Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the PG Show, where we talk about all things college football. Today, we're going to break down the remaining offers in the 2023 class for the University of Oklahoma and who I think Oklahoma has a good shot for. Whether they've committed to another program, whether there's still a floating offer out there, and just everything in between. But before we do that, please go ahead, hit that like and the subscribe button. It really helps me out, helps me continue to bring you guys great OU content and great OU interviews. Okay, so OU hasn't fared too well on the recruiting trail over the past couple weeks. And we've seen a lot of Sooner fans just get on Twitter, get on the socials, and completely just talk about how Todd Bates can't do it. Brent Venables isn't the guy. And I just want to go ahead and debunk all these myths now. Brent Venables is the guy, and Todd Bates is that dude that you want to recruit for you. So everybody just needs to calm down a little bit, calm down, and we'll be okay. But let's go ahead, let's jump in, and let's look at where OU is currently sitting for 2023, because there's a lot going on here at this class as I look at it, and I got it pulled up right here. So right now, OU currently is sitting at number 7 with a composite score of 284.47. And when you look at this list, right now you have 2 5-stars and Jackson Arnold and PJ Adebore, who is the 5-star edge rusher. And I look at this and go, this is a really good class, and I think one of the better classes that we've had the past 10 years. Mainly because, look, you got a 5-star edge rusher. When was the last time that we saw 5-star defensive line talent come into Oklahoma like this? Okay? And when you look at up and down across the board, OU is still putting themselves in prime position for many players. But if you look at who else is committed, you've got the 4-star safety, Makari Vickers, which he's going to bring tremendous help to the OU secondary. Tremendous help. When you look at his long jump, in all of his numbers, they're incredible. In all 3 phases of the game, he looks like a complete all-around player. And this is a guy that, when it comes down to it, he's going to be able to go in there and fix the gaps or help fix the gaps that OU is missing back there. And so I continue to look at some of the other guys that they have in this class, like Samuel Omosigo, the 4-star linebacker, who I think is a little underrated, but he, like I said, he's a 4-star. I think he could be a little bit higher than that. I think he could be a top 100 player. I don't know if he's a 5-star, but I think he could be a top 100 player. You've got Derek LeBlanc, who is currently right now stepping up to be a leader in this class on the defensive side of the ball. You have Colton Vasek, who I know there's been so much talk around him flipping to Texas, but again, another explosive guy off that line. And you look at it and I'm like, okay, so I understand like he hasn't landed any of the big names yet, but Todd Bates has PJ Adebore and he has Colton Vasek, Derek LeBlanc. It's not like he's not getting defensive line guys in this class. And here's the thing, even though he's going to get really talented freshmen in this class, they're still going to have to go to the transfer portal and take some guys out of the transfer portal. That's a non-negotiable. OU's going to have to do that this year. And so I don't understand why it's like we got to have all of these guys in this class, or we're not going to be any good next year. Now, let's talk about some of the guys on the line that I think OU stands a really good shot for. So the first one is Tahusili Akana, right? We've heard all about Akana. He's been floating around for a while for OU. He's a top 100 player. He's being recruited by LSU and the Texas and the A&Ms and the Alabamas of the world. So if you're Oklahoma, you still have a really tough test and a really tough fight to be able to go out there and get him. But when you look at his height, that's 6'4" and 225 pounds, and you look at his ability to continue to build his frame and add weight, and you see his athletic ability, man, he's going to fit really well in the 3-man front for Brent Venables. And I think Tahusili Akana sees what Brent Venables wants to do and sees how he's going to be utilized in this defense. Ultimately, I think this is one that unless Todd Bates and Brent Venables just stop recruiting him, I think it's a hard one to miss on. Now, I'm not saying we're going to get him 100%, but I just think he's a hard one to miss on if you continue recruiting him. I wholeheartedly believe that. Then we look at it and we go Ashton Sanders, right? Which, what is there not to say that I haven't already said about this kid? This man is a monster. He is a 6'3", 295-pound defensive lineman, and I know some other places have him as a little bit bigger, but this guy could come in and completely fill holes that we're having problems with this year, and just coming to Oklahoma and being a true nose tackle because he's so big. And again, on a three-man front, Ashton is going to be able to completely come in and help us fix the holes and fix the gaps on that side of the defense. And you need bigger guys like Ashton. And I get it. He's not the super high ranked guy. You know, a lot of people aren't paying attention to him a whole lot. But listen, that's a guy to get excited about if Oklahoma can land him. That's the kind of guy that we need to land. Then you got the currently not ranked in the composite, Marcus Strong, the 6'2", 265-pound defensive lineman who, from Lake Butler, Florida, is starting to pick up some offers across the board, right? He's got Maryland, Georgia Tech, West Virginia, slowly starting to pick up those offers where maybe he didn't have them before, especially on the Power 5 side. So watch out for that kid. With him currently not having a lot of Power 5 offers, I would expect Oklahoma to be able to land a guy like that. And again, that one really doesn't help you in your composite score ranking. But hey, remember, rankings aren't everything. I like Edwin Joseph a lot. The 3-star athlete, the 6 foot, 178-pound 3-star athlete from Hollywood, Florida. This is a place that OU, I think, has recruited well in the past. And I think it's a guy that realistically OU can land. Excuse me, guys. I'm not sure if he's going to come in and play on the defensive side of the ball or the offensive side of the ball, but I just like where I see and what I hear with Edwin Joseph in Oklahoma. But then we get into the guys that everybody wants to know about. David Hicks. Where does David Hicks land in terms of OU? So we know that the communication with David Hicks and the staff has still been going on, hasn't stopped. And from everything that I'm hearing, and I got some pretty good sources on this, sounds like David Hicks is going to be a Sooner at the end of the cycle. Now, that's great, but where do we land with Damian Sanford, who's currently committed to the Aggies? Right now, Hicks is currently committed to the Aggies. OU just recently, on November 3rd, offered Damian Sanford. And you have to really wonder if we can land Damian Sanford if Hicks is soon to follow him. So look at it. Damian Sanford had 91 tackles in 2021, 26 tackles for loss, 13 sacks, 1 interception, and 1 forced fumble, 2 fumble recoveries, and he had that 1 interception touchdown. So Damian Sanford is another guy, if you pair him with David Hicks, he's going to provide a lot of much needed pressure on that line. And so when I look at it and I look at all the guys that we could add that I just talked about, you could end with a 299-10 composite score ranking. And that's without any guys moving up, which right now, Jackson Arnold, he's number 13 overall in the 247 composite rankings. I expect Jackson Arnold to probably finish this cycle as a top 10 player. A top 10 player. And you would expect PJ Adebore to be a top 25 player. Right now, he's bordering that to number 26. So when you look at all of this, it's going to be fine. OU is going to be fine. I know it's not as flashy as everybody would like because, when we go look at the Clemson 2020 football class, we don't have a Brian Breesy or a Miles Murphy or a DeMonte Capehart in this class. But hey, it's going to be okay. OU is going to be fine. Todd Bates is going to get it. 2024 is going to look good. Y'all will see another video on me breaking down who I think OU could realistically land in 2024. But when we look at the offers that Oklahoma still has sitting out there, right? Where do I think we land? So Bill Bedenbaugh has offered the 5-star offensive tackle, Samson Okunolola, I think is how you say it. Listen, if you're OU, you've got to compete here with a lot of schools. Alabama, Miami, Michigan State, Florida, Georgia, right? You've got to compete with a lot of folks here. Here's the deal. I am not going to put all of my faith in that Oklahoma will be able to land this guy, right? I think we came in maybe a little too late on this one. I don't know if he's going to be able to make it out to Oklahoma State. Now, if he all of a sudden makes it out to an official visit during the Oklahoma State game, well, now things get interesting. But we're not going to hold on him. But OU still got a good shot, but I'm not going to say we land him. We look up and down the rest of the offer sheet. And I'm just pointing out some of the bigger guys, not a lot of the smaller guys. But we've got Desmond Ricks, OU's obviously out on. We have Toviano. I know it still shows that we're warm on him. Listen, OU's out on that race. He's going to LSU. OU's out on that race. There is Damari Brown. He is the 4-star cornerback out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I think we're out on that one as well. I don't really think we'd land that one. Listen, there's a lot of cornerbacks and a lot of safeties on here that, yeah, we've made offers. I just don't think OU lands them. I really don't. Nicholas Harbor, yeah, I don't. Yeah, that one's obviously out. Mikael Harrison Pilot. This is a guy that you might heard a lot about before. Again, I think OU's out on that one. We talked about Edwin Joseph and where I thought OU was with him. I think we land him. There is Khalil Barnes, and he is the 3-star athlete out of Bogart, Georgia. He recently took a visit to Notre Dame, and I know that he said that visit was really awesome. He also has interest in Clemson. I don't think OU lands this kid, but it would be a huge grab if we could land Khalil Barnes. I'm just not going to put all of my stock in landing him. You've got Keyshawn Blackstock, who is the junior college athlete from Coffeyville, Kansas. Listen, I think OU's got a good shot there, but it really doesn't help out your composite ranking, right? Samuel M. Mpemba, we've offered him. I don't think we land him, though. I think he probably ends up at LSU. Ruben Bain, the 4-star defensive lineman from Miami, Florida. I think he ends up with Miami. I've thought that for a while. Marcus Deal, the 4-star defensive lineman from Garland, Texas. You've heard a lot of good things about him, maybe in Oklahoma. Listen, he's got offers from Georgia, TCU, and Texas. This is another race where I just think Oklahoma is out of it at this point. Now, maybe if you land a guy like David Hicks, maybe that changes the scenario. But right now, I think OU is probably out of this race. I think he probably more so probably lands with either Texas or Georgia on this one. So I think OU's out. And then, of course, we'll end it with Johnny Bowens. Johnny Bowens decommitted from Texas A&M. You heard a lot of things around, hey, he didn't want to be there because of the depth issues. Just there's too much depth. He didn't see himself having much playing time. He's holding a lot of offers from LSU, Miami, Texas, Baylor, Oregon, of course, A&M. So he's got a plethora of choices. And, I'm not sure how heavily Todd Bates and the staff is recruiting Johnny Bowens at this point. So, again, it's probably another loss. But, hey, you know what? If in this class you land somewhere between 290 and 300 and you land as a top 10 class in Brent Venables' first true recruiting cycle, that's really good. If you're Oklahoma, you're looking really good. Because in 2024, which, again, I'll put out a video later breaking down who I think OU is going to land in that class, which I think you guys will really love that video. So keep an eye out for that one. I would think OU is going to have a pretty good shot. Listen, they're going to have a pretty good defensive line class in 2024. That is the class where I think maybe we can start asking some questions if Todd Bates starts missing. But I don't think we start asking those kind of questions until after 2024, until after they've had 2 full recruiting cycles in here. Because remember, there is a lot of players that Oklahoma could still potentially go out there and get throughout the transfer portal. There really is. You've heard of the Jacob Lacey kid from the defensive line from Notre Dame. And you know that as the season wraps up, as bowl season starts to hit, you're going to hear of a lot more players hitting the portal. Listen, there was a bunch of people at James Madison, and there were, I think there's some guy down at Albany that I think would fit great into the program for Venables and what he wants to do. And landing Jacob Lacey would be a great start to that. Now, I think right now he's currently crystal balled to go to Kentucky. I don't think that stands. You heard of really good things about his recruitment here when he took his visit to Oklahoma last week, even though we lost. Remember, I'm trying to confirm this, but I don't think losing means that much to the recruits. I don't think it hurts the recruitment at all. I think winning helps, but I don't think losing hurts the recruitment as much as people want to believe it does. So, thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Go ahead, jump down in the comments below. Let me know where you guys think Oklahoma lands for the 2023 cycle in terms of the composite score rankings. Additionally, if you have not already, please hit the like and the subscribe button. It really helps me out. I really appreciate it. It helps me bring you guys great OU content and more great OU interviews.